have 46 months left in Donald Trump's second term, and I think the biggest question we should ask ourselves is how far are Republicans willing to let him go? Because in the 2 months we've had so far, he has challenged the Constitution over and over and over again, and in the past couple weeks, it has really ramped up. He's ignored federal court orders and proven there really isn't a strong mechanism to punish him for doing that. He's claiming that Joe Biden's pardons are void because without evidence, he says that Joe Biden was unaware of who he was pardoning. And he's attempted to deport people who were here legally by revoking their legal status, like Mahmoud Khalil, and that is blatantly unconstitutional. 46 more months, and it's going to escalate, and Republicans are going to be faced with a very difficult question of what do you value more, Trump or the Constitution? But the very important question is, how far does Trump have to go to get those Republicans who would value the Constitution over him to turn their back on Donald Trump? How far is too far? That's going to be the most important question. How far can Trump go? And I am not looking forward to finding out the answer to that question because I don't think we're anywhere near it now, and we're already pretty damn close to a constitutional crisis.
But one of the things whereby Trump has really, really messed up in terms of Tesla stock is all of the trade wars that he's kicked off. And, like a complete wally, kicked them all off at the same time. So, if you are putting tariffs on Mexico and Canada and China and the EU and the UK and Australia and basically all of your allies and then more people beyond, they are going to want to retaliate. What is the best way to retaliate? And I've done videos on this before. Political targeting has worked before. For example, in 2001, 2002, when George W. Bush put steel tariffs on all of his allies, the EU hit back with targeted tariffs on bourbon whiskey, car manufacturing in Michigan, Harley-Davidsons, and very importantly, Florida oranges, because the governor of Florida at the time was Jeb Bush. And he was in by a whisker and coming up to an election test. And the thought of a Florida economy going down because of tariff retaliation was too much. And so George W. Bush caved on that. So the obvious target, given the vulnerability, is Tesla. So why aren't the EU and others going straight for the throat of Tesla? I think there are two major factors here. I think one is that they can see that Tesla's going down anyway and they don't need to make a move that's very aggressive. Also, they can retain that threat hovering, and just the knowledge that that threat is there is going to really hurt Tesla stock. And this is what we're seeing already, because just on Friday, there was a letter from Tesla to the US government's head of trade complaining about all the tariffs and how that made Tesla very exposed. Strangely, this letter was signed by no one. But it means that everyone now knows that the rest of the world has a right to pull the plug on Tesla stock just like that. And just the threat being there means that the stock's going to go down. We also know that Tesla stock is probably about 20 times inflated if you compare it across other car manufacturers that are doing similar things. It is all one massive confidence bubble that Elon Musk has been riding, derives his wealth from, and has been able to get loans on the basis of. So it is going down. But another reason why the EU in particular might not be going hard on Tesla at the moment is that we're still using Starlink in Ukraine. Now, that is likely to change, fingers crossed, over the next 2 months, because Starlink is so unstable there. In fact, troops on the front line have been complaining recently that when they turn their Starlinks on, they get attacked by the Russians, particularly when there are clusters of Starlink units together, and there's some 40,000 of them in the country. This isn't just what I read on the news. I have verified it with people that I know supply the front lines in Ukraine, and the frontline troops in Ukraine are dead nervous about Starlink. They know they need to use it for their own attacks, but basically, if they're not one of the units that need to keep it on all the time, then essentially they turn it off until they need to turn it on to go and make an attack, and then they turn it off again. That's what's happening on the front line right now. And because Elon Musk has been saying America needs to pull out of NATO, America needs to pull out of NATO like a complete idiot, he has ensured that the European nations do not trust the US and will not buy from US suppliers, whether they're fighter planes or anything else. And this is why Macron announced that there is a French company, Eutelsat, that can actually replace Starlink in Ukraine with about 40,000 units, and it will take a couple of months. This was announced just over a couple of weeks ago, and the stock of Eutelsat, because yes, you can buy Eutelsat stock, you can't buy Starlink stock because it's not publicly floated, but Eutelsat, you can buy stock in, just in case you're curious. It shot up sixfold and has maintained that level. And so, if more money and more defense contracts go into Eutelsat, and that replaces Starlink in Ukraine, and then for contracts across Europe and probably Canada and probably Australia as well, then that massively reduces Elon Musk's power, and it means that no one has to worry about keeping Elon Musk happy anymore, and everyone can go hard on Tesla, and Tesla stock can drop further. So that is another dynamic to watch out for. That is another dynamic to watch out for. The stock of Eutelsat and the deployment of Eutelsat in Ukraine, and whether Starlink actually gets contracts from any of its allies at the moment. All of that will mean that the world has no need for Elon Musk. We don't need Teslas, certainly don't need X. There's plenty of other social media platforms, and someone else could run X certainly a lot better than the absolute bin fire of just promoting himself that is X right now. Seriously, you turn it on and the top tweet is always Elon Musk, or even the top two tweets. Anyone else who actually cared about free speech could run it better. So essentially, as time goes on, Elon Musk becomes a lot more vulnerable because Tesla becomes a lot more vulnerable stock-wise. Everyone knows it, everyone's saying it, everyone's watching it. What can you do to help this happen, should you wish to? Just keep resharing those stories of people saying that they want to throw away their Teslas or give them away or sell them. They don't want to be driving in them. All the stories about, Tesla stock dropping. All the stories about Tesla sales dropping dramatically right across Europe. Keep resharing those, because all of that confidence bubble is going to go. And you know that confidence bubble is going because look at the actions of Donald Trump. And the notion that the government was going to buy $400 million worth of armor Teslas. And then when the stock's dropping, Donald Trump actually coming out and saying, look at this Tesla, it's so great, this Tesla. And just trying to prop it up, which it did by about 3.5% for a while. But if you're smart, you know exactly what Donald Trump was doing, and even if it's indicating to the whole market that the government's going to try and back Tesla, it is an indication of desperation as to what's happening with that stock. Now, why does Donald Trump care so much about Tesla stock? I don't know. However, I will just note that when Vladimir Putin took over in Russia and destroyed the Russian economy and put all the property in the hand of a band of oligarchs, he made sure that he kept those oligarchs close, and those oligarchs paid him a cut of all of their profits. And that was the model that he established in Russia, impoverished the entire nation, but for a few billionaires at the top, which were his crew, which he kept close by threat of life and by financial extortion, and he kept them fed by that same method. How on earth could Donald Trump possibly do this?
News right now, a man voted for Donald Trump, and now his wife is sitting in an ICE detention center. This story involves Bradley Bartell and Camila Munoz. According to USA Today, the two of them have been together for several years now. Last month, they were on their way home to Wisconsin after honeymooning in Puerto Rico when an immigration agent pulled her aside in the airport, asked if she was an American citizen. She wasn't. But they had taken legal steps so that one day she might get U.S. citizenship, so they felt comfortable enough to travel to Puerto Rico. And while now she's in an ICE detention facility, millions of Americans, including Bartell, her husband, voted for Donald Trump on the promise that he would crack down on criminal illegal immigrations. But now they're having buyer's remorse because this effort has expanded to include immigrants whose application for legal status is in the countries under review. None of the women had criminal records. All were in the ongoing legal immigration process and felt comfortable boarding a domestic flight. And well, now Camila is in a nice detention center, and her husband is having buyer's remorse for Donald Trump. I'm going to continue highlighting these stories both on here and on my Substack, so be sure to subscribe for free at the link in my bio. Follow along for all the news you need to know about.
A Trump voter is now in the find out phase as his wife is sitting in an ICE detention center ready to be deported. Now meet Bradley Bartell and his wife Camila. There they are, the happy couple just married. Now, he voted for Donald Trump even though his wife was here illegally. She originally came on a visa, but she overstayed that visa. And he supported Donald Trump despite his policies to deport people. Now, he thought it would be somebody else. But on return from their honeymoon in Puerto Rico, ICE picked her up because she was on a database for overstaying her visa. And of course, these people are just beside themselves. They didn't think this would happen to them. They thought it would be the others. They thought Camila would get to stay because she was originally vetted for a visa. She was working, she had a W-2, and she paid taxes. They thought she would be the last one in the clubhouse who could pull up the ladder and prevent everybody else from coming in. But now they're in the find out phase. And he is upset. He calls the condition she's in terrible. They can't believe they would do this to somebody. Well, he was ready for it to happen to somebody else. And welcome to the find out phase.
Where are Trump's advisors? Who is sitting back and letting that man say out loud with his whole chest that he wants to rename Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, to the District of America? Because, in his words, why should it be Columbia? He thinks the District of Columbia has to do with the country of Columbia. He doesn't even realize that the District of Columbia and the country are spelled differently. Like, this is our president. There was an entire controversy when Obama wore a suit color that people didn't prefer. But this man gets to say whatever he wants. People don't care.
So about a month ago, all the MAGA morons were convinced that once Doge was done with their work, everyone was going to get a check for $5,000. And now the thing they believe is even more ridiculous. It's even more laughable. They really think that once Doge is done and Trump has balanced the budget, like that's ever going to happen, that every single American who earns less than $150,000 a year doesn't have to pay taxes anymore. That's what they believe. These people are so simple. They will believe anything their right-wing overlords tell them, whether it's there's litter boxes in all the high schools, or they're eating all the cats and the dogs, or you're not going to have to pay taxes anymore once, Honorable Lord Daddy Trump balances the budget. People on the left wouldn't buy this stuff. If our president was promising us these ridiculous kinds of things, we wouldn't believe it, and we wouldn't even want it. We are smart enough to realize that having safe air flight travel, having national parks, having things like cancer research, having things like Medicare and Social Security for everyone is way more important than everyone getting a $5,000 check. If we actually lived in a country where nobody paid taxes, it would be a libertarian hellscape where you would have to pay a private company to drive on a road, or a private company to come put out the fire on your house, or you were screwed and they would just let it burn, because that's the libertarian mantra. Not my tax dollars for anybody, we live in a society here. The Republicans are carving out a world that is only safe for the wealthiest in this nation. And the lower level MAGA people, they just don't get it. And they never will, because they're just too simple. And they're too easily swayed by just the hate in their heart makes them believe All of this dumb shit.
You guys want to do a Trump dump? I mean, I know you don't really, but here it goes. Before we get started, this Trump dump is sponsored by ivermectin. Buy one, get one free. Because MAGA thinks it's a cure-all. What I really love about him is how he uses his platform to speak to Iran. Issuing a very stark warning. Yeah. So much for no new wars. And this, our administration and the American people are focused on the real economy, not fake news polling, or you're totally focused on polling. And I know why, because Donald Trump just put this up. Trump ties for the highest approval rating he's ever had. Him, MAGA. And what is that approval rating that he's tied for? Right here. Last. Since 1953. Gallup. Polling. Real. Not to mention all the other polls against them that he is calling fake. Emerson, Quinnipiac. And then he's talking about Donald Trump's policies, like ending catch and release. And yet, U.S. expands catch and release when Donald Trump is president. And, oh, look, Trump ICE frees hundreds of immigrants under catch and release. And yet, U.S. expands catch and release when Donald Trump is president. And, oh, look, Trump ICE frees hundreds of immigrants under catch and release. Donald Trump was president. Like, just recently. Sponsored by, get this, free blanket. And he's sticking with the Kings thing. Yeah, he posted this. MAGA. Kings. And a little golf clap for yet another win for Donald Trump. It's amazing that he wins at his own golf club championship. You know, when I have a chili cook-off at my house, I don't participate. Anyone, just amazing, just amazing. I hope he didn't kick the ball, little Pele, huh? But just a reminder, this is Fox News. Yeah. His all-time high, which was the worst since 1953. Even so, the majority of voters disapproves of Trump's performance, which is worse than Biden's was at this point in time. Lowest in decades. Just a reminder, lowest approval rating in modern era. I know, it hurts him. It hurts him. But again, anything he doesn't like, Lugan Pressa! There's a sucker born every minute now, isn't there? Okay, that's it for now. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Donald Trump once said that he could end the Russia-Ukraine war within 24 hours after being elected. Not taking office, after being elected. Well, that's 4 months ago, and still the war rages on. Donald Trump was asked about that by a reporter. You said you could end it in 24 hours. You knew exactly what to do. It would take one phone call. Donald Trump says, yeah, well, I was being a little sarcastic. What I really meant is, yeah, I'd like it to end. So would all of us. You had the answer. You could do it in 24 hours. Now, clearly, you were lying. Oh, big surprise, Donald Trump is lying. Now he's trying to mediate some peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. And the fact of the matter is, Russia only wants a few things. Total surrender and as much of Ukraine as they can grab. That's what they want. And of course, Zelensky's not going to give that up. So that peace deal is probably a long way off. Now, when Donald Trump said he could end it quickly in 24 hours, I know what he was thinking. He was thinking, I'd be president of the United States. I have all the power in the world. I'll just go intimidate Zelensky, much like he did in that press conference we saw. I'll intimidate him because I'm the biggest, I'm the strongest, and he'll give Russia whatever they want. Well, it didn't turn out that way, did it, Donnie? Zelensky's got a little more integrity than you do, a little more power, a little more ability, a stronger human being than you are. So Donald Trump's kind of caught in a spot here. And somebody asked, how do we know Putin isn't playing Donald Trump? And one of his cabinet said, oh, that's ridiculous. Nobody plays Donald Trump. Motherfucker, Putin's been playing Donald Trump for the last 9-10 years, if not longer. Donald Trump can get played by the dumbest person in the room. Vladimir Putin, a KGB agent, has no problem at all fucking playing Donald Trump. Donald Trump can get played by the dumbest person in the room. Vladimir Putin, the KGB agent, has no problem at all fucking playing Donald Trump. So if we're looking forward to a resolution to this Ukraine-Russia war, I think it's a long way off, because Zelensky is just not going to give in to Russia, nor should he. Everybody in the Trump administration likes to make it sound like Russia's big and powerful and they're running over the top of Ukraine. That's not what's happening. Russia is in trouble. They want this fucking war ended, but Vladimir Putin needs to save face. And you can't do both. You've lost 700,000 troops. Your economy's in the shitter.
Investing can feel complex.
Having much luck, you're having to import fucking fighters from North Korea, for God's sake. Donald Trump is not the man to work out this deal. He's too much on the side of Vladimir Putin. So Donald Trump makes promises not fucking kept.
Thanks and credit to the creators. We appreciate it for giving us the opportunity to add our comments to it. Yes, guys, that's what's going on. The referendum, I find out, is affecting both the rich and the poor. That's the way I see it. How you guys see it? Let's continue the conversation down there in the comment section. I'll catch up with you guys later. Bye for now.